What's going on, everybody, to the weekly update. And in this video, what I like to do is prepare you for the week. So I provide you a state of the market and some stocks I'm looking for the upcoming week, to also include some events and possibly some earnings during earnings season. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe and hit the like button before we get started, because I do provide daily updates as well. So, being said, state of the market. Had a very interesting week. For the past week, we had the FOMC meeting notes, which essentially really didn't guide us very well. It had a lot of the same information that we've gotten from Powell. There's no new information. The biggest thing we are watching now is essentially the inflation data that comes out. Jobless claims really aren't something to be watching. It's more inflation. How is inflation going to run away? What is the Fed going to do about it? Or are they going to start becoming very hawkish? Again, Bullard has come on earlier this week, and I know last week he was on. I think he was on Friday last week as well, and he was essentially stating the same thing. Just we need to start taking action is what his approach is. He's looking at 100 basis points roughly around by July. So I think we get one possibly. We've already been told that March they're going to completely stop essentially bond buying is what they're saying. Again, we have to wait and see if that's what the case is. Once they start the bond buying, then maybe we get a slight increase, maybe a 25 point basis increase initially, and then possibly increment it up for the next following FOMC meetings into July is what I'm kind of thinking at this point. I think that's what the Fed is kind of looking at. But we have to see if they get too aggressive. That could be a bad thing. So we have to see what happens. The market is healthy in a term. Obviously, we have to also understand that the market in itself is good as far as the pandemic goes. The industry leaders are doing very well, but saying there's still a lot of companies that are either barely making it by or getting hit really bad. Bullard also stated that he sees inflation to be a major issue throughout all of 2022, as well as supply issues. Now, we won't really know if that is true till we get Q1 earnings, which is we're still wrapping up Q4 earnings. So we still got a couple months before we see that Q1 to see really how supply issues are, if they are an issue or are they not. So there's still a lot of unknowns. And so the market is in a lot of turmoil. And then we got the Russia-Ukraine stuff. There's been a lot of different stories back and forth that Russia's withdrawn. Russia is trying to open the doors with the U.S. in negotiations. But we do know is that they were trying to negotiate on the 25th, which is Friday. So Biden just came out on Friday, this past Friday, and simply stated that he's willing to take action if Putin decides to invade Ukraine. So we're going to have that tension all weekend. It's a long weekend. So there's a lot just going on. And the next week, we're starting to kind of die down out of earnings as well. So that all the major companies have kind of all reported already. But there's still a couple of good ones in there ultimately. But I don't think these ones that we're going to see are ones that are really going to push the market in any direction. I might get some nice plays out of them, but I think that your biggest plays are pretty much done for the most part. But for this week, I'm kind of watching HD. I'm watching Fubo on Wednesday, Baba, Square, and Coin on Thursday. Will be interesting to watch. As far as events, Monday, obviously, we are closed. We got President's Day, so the market is not open. Friday will be a big day. We got PCE and core inflation, a month and a yearly coming out, plus possibly the U.S.-Russia negotiations is also possibly going on Friday. Again, if Russia doesn't do anything over the weekend, over the next coming days, that could be a big event on Friday as well. But ultimately, my watch list is going to be a lot of the strong industry leaders because they're going to be the ones that recover. Things sold off a lot on Friday, continued to sell. We're still in an okay spot, which I'll show here on the chart here in a bit. But I want to kind of watch these first because these are the ones that are going to recover quickly when we have some sort of a bounce. So watch this: Google, Tesla, UPST, Asml, and DE, John Deere. They actually just had earnings on Friday. They crushed it and they sold off. They gave more than their gains back. But they are coming, if they can come into a 200 support, is why I kind of put that on there, which I'll pull that up. But they're coming into 200 daily support. And if it does hit that, we could get a really nice bounce off of that. So that's what I'm kind of looking for there. So the SPX here during the week. Now, this is something I want to watch, and something I've been talking about all week. I'm kind of watching this 4260 mark, this 4262 mark. I think if we can hold this, we will be good. And I think what we're going to actually probably do is probably chop in between here. I wouldn't actually be surprised. We got the monthly 20 kind of sitting right here at the 4160 mark. So I'm thinking we're going to kind of chop in between here. I think it's going to get a lot tighter going into the Fed meeting. I think this is all leading up into the Fed meeting. I don't think we're going to see all-time highs until we get actual numbers. The market is really waiting on numbers and not hearsay. The market, I think, is getting numb to a lot of bullards and a bunch of Fed members' comments. So I expect more of this chop, more of this junk. Again, we've sold off quite a bit today. It was also options expiration day, so we did get a little bit more selling than normal. But again, watching that level, I want to see if we hold here. I want to see, what the case is, because we did attempt to retest the 200 on the daily. We got rejected pretty hard. We had a nice bounce towards the end of the day, but then again, and no one's going to hold over the long weekend with the Russia stuff. And so we got a big sell candle on close. We have to see where we end up on Monday. Again, if nothing happens with Russia, I actually expect this to be pretty flat. So if we can hold this 43.26, if we actually start recovering some from there, I actually take that as very bullish, because that'd be, in my mind, it'd still be a lower high. If you take this in the grand scheme of things and looking at higher time frames, this would still be a lower high compared to this 42.54 mark here. But we do need to bounce here, and we do need to start pushing up. So if we end up at the zone, I think we're playing with fire here. If we continue to keep bouncing off this support, it is a good strong support. But if we keep bouncing off of it, we could break that and end up going down. Again, I don't see a crash coming. In my mind, everything is televised, so none of this stuff is new. Again, the market tried to price in a 50-point basis rate raise, but if we come lower than that, or if we come higher than that, we'll determine how the market's going to play that. But I do see some sort of a rally. Maybe we actually break out of this. If we can break out of this, we're going to need some real positive. Maybe we get some good core CPI or something that can break us out of this wedge. We need something. We need the Russia-Ukraine stuff to go away. We need some good core CPI, and we might actually get a breakage of this wedge and actually start making an attempt to push back up. I don't see a complete reversal until we actually hear from the Bitcoin's an interesting play here. We're still holding the level. Again, that 32 mark is kind of what I'm looking at. As long as we could stay above there, I'm still very bullish on Bitcoin. And again, I think this ultimate play with Bitcoin will be based off of what the Fed is doing as well. If inflation decides to run, but as long as Bitcoin can stay above there, I think we're going to do really well. Just above that 32K mark, I think we'll crush it. I think it will be the year for crypto in itself. So again, not too worried unless it comes lower than that. The market's still holding. I'm not worried about it. Not worried about any crash just yet. I'm just waiting. And then the first one we got is Googl. Googl is it's broken 200 support. Normally when it breaks 200 support, you start looking for a reversal on it. It's had 2 days of almost no bounces. We had some sort of a bounce towards the end of the day, tested the 200, then started selling. So kind of really watching this 25.96 mark. If we can hold that, I think that'd be a real positive thing. And then this is one of the ones that's going to recover quickly. It did crush earnings and will continue to do very well, especially during the pandemic. It did extremely well and held up, and it's proven that over time. It does have a split coming in July, although the shares are really diluted with the 20-to-1. So normally on a split, a stock would go running like crazy, but we have to really see how this does play out moving forward. But I do really like Googl as being the ones, again, watching that level there. But then you have to also remind yourself that 26.48 is going to be a hard ceiling. We got a breakthrough again. So that's going to be a little tough, but definitely one I want to keep on watch. The next one I got is Tsla. Now we all know and love Tsla. It broke below the 200, which doesn't seem to be a big deal, but it is holding this 845 mark essentially. I want to see if we can continue to hold this. We can even drop down here to the 820, even the 800. I think if we hit 800, it's going to be very short-lived, like you see here. It's pretty much wicked and popped right out. I think if we do get that low, I think we're going to see the same thing. But we are, as you can see here, with all these lines, especially the yellow and green lines here, there is a lot of resistance in this area, and so you're not going to get very smooth up and down out of here until we break out. And again, until I think this ultimately, if we can hit a bottom 800 and get in, we might be able to swing it for a longer period. But I don't think we're going to break out of this range until we get either one, we get some really bad numbers or some really big inflation numbers, or we have earnings on the next earnings run. So we still got a while before this, I think, really starts to make its big move. Again, if you know anything about Tsla does this. It plays these big ranges like this, essentially consolidates for like a couple months, and then it has these monster moves. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on Tsla. But looking for that bottom number again, the 800 or even the 825 this coming week, playing some scalps in between. Again, this is a great one for scalping. Moving forward. So UPST is the other one I do have. I really like this one. This one did very good on earnings, but it's obviously not going to hold up with everything else. I'm kind of expecting to come back to this 200 weekly. So looking around that $100 mark. I want it to really hold there. If it does, I would like to start building a position in this for a longer term. Again, not financial advice. The way the market is going, even though it had amazing earnings, it might just continue to crumble down. Again, it's not a really well-known name yet. It's not something everybody knows about. So being said, kind of looking to see where this ends up, but really watching that 100 range during this week. Again, we might just continue to bump down in here and play between the 100 and the 120 might be the zone we play until something happens and we actually break out of here. But definitely one I want to keep on watch. Asml is the other one I have. Again, this one's been playing a lot of range, essentially down from the 621 up to the 686 mark. So really looking for this dip come Tuesday, and then try to get in this as long as it holds. To see if we can get some kind of grind up. Again, this is on a wedge as well on the daily. So looking for this wedge to kind of hopefully break out. As you can see, there's a lot of consolidation here, which I like. I think eventually this is going to make a massive move out of here, and I think that's actually coming very soon. So just kind of watching this area. Again, it could wedge down and break down even further, which is something got to be mindful of. So you really want to watch that bottom 622 mark. Make sure it doesn't break there. But if it does break out, we could at least attempt. I think we'll get a pretty clean push back up and try to at least reattempt around that 780 mark. Again, we have a lot of resistance above now, a lot of EMAs above us. So it's not going to be just a clean shot straight up. It's going to be pretty choppy on the way back up. So just be mindful of that. DE is the last one I do have. And this one, I don't typically trade, but it's actually been having some great moves. And what I'm really looking at here is this 200 on the daily, the 352 mark. possibly even down at 341 mark would be best, but you're going to get a nice move off the EMA here. So you can see it's wicked a couple different times here. This is going to be the next attempt to try to hit this. And they did extremely well for earnings, and they just sold off one big red candle today. So we really that's one I really want to watch this week, because I think it'll be a really nice intraday play, especially if we hit it and the market starts to turn up. We can make our way at least back up to try to retest that 50, which is sitting around the 371 mark. Again, as far as like swinging, I wouldn't really suggest swinging unless the market looks strong, unless we get a couple solid, really solid green candles that aren't choppy or wicking on the way up. I think we can definitely try to retest that 50. And then again, value's done very well in this market. Tech not so much, but I think I need to throw a value play in here coming into the next couple of weeks, because I think our focus should probably be a little bit more on that, just because tech is very sensitive to any information on what's going forward. But if you made it this far, I appreciate you, and drop that thumbs up. Be mindful, be nimble, and trade light until we get through this mess. So until next time, I'll see you guys later.